Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. It is that week, November 4th through 10th, 2024. This is Ophi, here to talk about the week we've all been waiting and not waiting for. Election Day in the United States is this Tuesday, November 5th, and I know I'm going to be listening back to this episode and being like, oh boy, what on earth? How did that all play out? Because as much as astrologers are here to make predictions, this is one heck of an unpredictable time. It's predictably unpredictable, but I do have some predictions. Don't worry. So I've got you. This week is what I'm calling the patriarchy meets the moon. The moon in astrology is associated with the feminine principle. And listen, I'm not here to genderize the cosmos, but if you'll indulge me at this moment where the patriarchy and the rise of powerful women are having a moment, we're going to talk about it through the lens of the planets. So this week, we have something very unprecedented happening in the chart of the United States that I'm going to tell you about. And we're going to talk about the moon and its meetups with Venus, Pluto, and Saturn. The moon is having some sit-downs, much like a female presidential candidate going on podcasts, perhaps. We're having some sit down at the table and talk about it. Now, everybody's saying that they know who's going to win the election or they don't. But the truth is, it's so close. And the closeness of the race is actually more of a case for astrology than this gambling, betting, lottery thing. It's the tightest race ever. But why? Why is it so close? And that's where astrology actually has some things to say. And I'm going to have some things to say. So without further ado, let's talk about those. So Monday is very interesting. Monday, November 4th. As we are building up to the big day, I know a lot of you voted early. We have the Sun and Saturn, which are associated with the masculine patriarchal principles. Yes, planets, I'm totally here for the planets having some gender reassignments, but let's talk about the pre-assignments of the planets. The Sun and Saturn are classically associated with the patriarchal, the male identified, the masculine, and they are in a trine, in a cooperative trine on Monday, but in water signs, which are associated with emotions and empathy and compassion. So compassionate leadership, transcendent leadership. That's what we named 2024 the year of transcendent leadership. And the Sun is in Scorpio, which is very transformational. Saturn is in Pisces, which is that mystical high vibration space. So we're going to really be thinking about our values and leadership. But the Sun and Saturn are hanging out in their clubhouse, Broville in the sky. But at the same time, the women are holding court. So the moon and Venus, which have been classically thought of as the feminine, the moon is associated with mother energy, Venus with the feminine, or the yin, however you prefer it. They are conjunct in Sagittarius, which is big picture, worldly, inclusive. So, I mean, is this election not totally divided between women's issues and reproductive rights and family and culture and heritage and then this like entrenched Sun Saturn power? So November 4th is perfectly reflecting the divisions. Now we get to Election Day. We've got the moon in Sagittarius and then moving into Capricorn at 10:17 a.m. Eastern. So it's in the sign of governments, hierarchy, the patriarchy, with Pluto. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, since Barack Obama was elected. It was there in 2012, 2016 when Trump was elected at the halfway point, 2020, and then it's leaving for good for the rest of our lives. November 19th, 2024. So we're in the final 2 weeks of Pluto in Capricorn. If you want to hear more about this, I talked about this in our monthly horoscope cheat sheet episode of the podcast. So we've got Tuesday, we've got the moon in Capricorn, but we also have the United States Chiron return. So we've looked at the charts of the presidential candidates. You can see that on our Instagram. They both have pros and cons. They have odds in their favor and odds stacked against them. Crazy ones, too. We're looking at the map of election day, but what really is the most telling is when we look at the United States chart, July 4th, 1776. And what we see is something that only happens every 50 years. So when the United States was formed, Chiron, which is the wounded healer, it shows our collective karmic wound, what we have to heal still. Chiron was at 20 degrees Aries. So Chiron will go in and out and back and forth over the degrees of a zodiac sign. It has a different flight path, if you will, than the other planets. But Chiron, over the course of a couple years, every 50 years, reaches 20 degrees Aries. So the last time it was there was 1973 and 74, and it was only discovered in 1977. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there. We just didn't know about it. So in 1973 and 74, when Nixon had to resign, we had the Watergate scandal, the Middle East was in turmoil. That was the last time that Chiron was at 20 degrees Aries. And in the chart of the United States, Chiron is at 20 degrees Aries. So the USA is having a Chiron return on election day. I'm calling it America's report card. It is showing us how much we've healed our collective wound, because this is a country that was built on the wounding of people, from slavery to the stealing of land from the indigenous people who already lived here, to so many injustices that have happened to build this country of freedom. The irony of that there, yet we do have more freedoms than other places in the world. So there's such a wound. And as we reach this point again, this Chiron return for the United States, we're looking at our scorecard, at our report card. Hopefully it's a midterm and not a final exam, or maybe just a regular report card. I'd like to hope that we have a long way to go, but it could be, because we are also at the Pluto return, the very end of the Pluto return of the United States. Pluto was in Capricorn, late degree of Capricorn, when the United States was formed. So we've got a Pluto return and a Chiron return. Pluto is the underworld, the shadow. Chiron is the wound. So we're dealing with our shadow and our wound. And we're being asked, can we regenerate? Can we come out from the depths of the underworld and rise up into something greater? Can we take from the ashes of the country's history, shadowy history? Can we alchemize that lead into gold? Chiron is the healer, healed himself in order to heal others in mythology. So can we know that we can't change the past, but use what we know of that to change the future? And the candidates in the US election are perfectly illustrating what it's like to have a Pluto return and a Chiron return on our election day. So you have a say in this. Please vote. If you're one of our United States listeners and are hopefully registered to vote, please make sure to cast your ballot. So that is the big moment of election day now. And when we wake up on Wednesday, the moon is still going to be in Capricorn all day, and into Thursday the 7th, when right before the moon leaves Capricorn and moves into Aquarius at 5:58 p.m. Eastern. 20 minutes before that, the moon and Pluto are going to be conjunct, meaning they're meeting up at the exact same degree of Capricorn. They're having a sit down. They're having a summit. They're having a talk. The moon is going on Joe Rogan at 5:38 p.m. Pluto and Capricorn is, so whatever happens on election day, The divine feminine of the moon in Capricorn is going to face down that entrenched, shadowy, poisoned earth and water and well of the systems that we're in. It's going to sit down with Pluto and go, okay, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to stop ignoring the feminine principle, the emotional principle, the empathic? Are we going to take care of people? Are we going to care about everyone or only the Pluto powerful few? So that's what's happening on Thursday, like a real moment of raw intensity. I don't know how that's going to show up totally, but we know that 50% of the country is going to be super upset about the results of the election. And we have a full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus, which is a planet of the unpredictable and sudden events on November 15th. We've got Pluto leaving Capricorn and moving into Aquarius for 20 years. Aquarius is a sign of community and the collective and cooperation, technology, AI, progress, the future. Got a 20-year run of that starting on November 19th. So between November 5th and 19th, those 2 weeks, I will not be surprised if something completely unprecedented happens around the election. That Moon-Pluto conjunction is going to bring up some very raw, shadowy, emotionally driven reactions. So do be careful on that day. At 5:58 p.m. Eastern, the moon moves into Aquarius, and we're moving into a balancing quarter moon Friday the 8th and spilling into Saturday the 9th, depending on where you live. So quarter moons are the halfway point between a new moon and a full moon. So they're a point to pause and integrate the changes of the new moon. The new moon comes and plants the seeds or brings new energy, infuses new energy into the world. And then the full moon will help us kind of harvest it and bring it to fruition. So midway through, we've got the Aquarius quarter moon. We had a Scorpio new moon on November 1st, which really got us focusing on the details. Now, the Aquarius quarter moon is like pull out of that tunnel vision and don't only think about your own raw feelings. Let's think about how this is going to affect everyone. Aquarius themes of community, the collective, your friends, your neighbors, the people around you. So this quarter moon is about how do we come back together with our communities? I mean, probably a lot of people here are still planning on celebrating the holidays with their families. And you're probably wondering, how the heck am I going to sit around the table with some of the people in my family knowing who they voted for? So this Aquarius quarter moon is going to be a moment of thinking like, how can I bring fractured groups and communities together? How do I put the Humpty Dumpty of my life back together again? Because there's some eggshell all over the floor and it's really hard. You can't unsee and unhear what you did. So here's hoping that quarter moon moves us into the weekend where we can maybe have some of those healing conversations. Now, Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern, the moon is going to move into Pisces. But prior to that, we've got Venus squaring Neptune and the moon squaring Uranus during the day. So those conversations may not go so well. People have been suppressing a lot of pain and a lot of fear throughout this election. So the things we've been holding in, we may start to feel. The moon is making a lot of aspects on Saturday. It's going to be trine to Jupiter, which is good. That will help us with regaining our perspective and finding ways to talk and think and process. But Venus and Neptune and the moon and Uranus, there's still going to be a lot of raw emotion, activity, anger. So you may have to just very tentatively start some of those conversations. I don't know if you're going to be able to finish them. You may have to step away and say, all right, let's take a time out. Now, the last sit down of the moon is on Sunday evening. The moon is going to be conjunct with Saturn, the third patriarchal planet. So The moon is going to be square Mercury, the planet of communication, in the afternoon prior to that. So you'll be prone to saying things you regret. You'll be very much in your feelings, and you might just say, screw it. I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to lash out and say the thing. Don't advise that. So please do find an outlet for yourself to make sure that you are getting the support, getting to get whatever frustration and fear and pain and anger you've held in off your chest, but not taking it out on someone else. That's going to be the challenge Sunday afternoon. And then when the moon and Saturn connect, so it's funny, we start the week with the sun and Saturn, the sun being kind of the divine masculine energy at its highest vibration. And then we end the week with the moon and Saturn sitting down together. Saturn is also leadership, authority, maturity, adulthood, structure. So how will the moon and Saturn in Pisces, an empathic Pisces, join forces on Sunday to take us into the next week, into 11/11, that portal of oneness that will be next Monday. So it may be the moment when we just go, okay, we got to move forward. How do we pick our battles? What do we say? What don't we say? How do we refocus our priorities on the things that affect all of us collectively? No matter who's sitting in the White House in the United States, how do we come together? That conversation is really going to start with Friday's Aquarius quarter moon. Aquarius is about us, we, community. There's no separateness. And then Pisces is really that pure merging, that pure oneness. So before we go into a week with Aries moon and Taurus moon next week, which is more self-focused, we end the week thinking about how we can come together. How can we possibly come together after what we've been through this year and this election season for the past few months since the candidates were nominated and accepted their nominations? How do we heal from that, from all the toxicity? That's what a lot of this week is about. So yeah, I think really just focusing on keeping yourself calm and centered, taking good care of yourself, making sure you eat and sleep as much as you can, and be as gentle as you possibly can with yourself. And if you don't know what to say except to lash out and become that negative force, it's better not to say anything. But do not suppress your voice. Do not suppress your vote. Please go and drop that ballot in the box if you haven't already. And here is to meeting you on the other side. We'll be here for you every day at Astro Styles. So if you haven't yet pre-ordered your 2025 horoscope book, yes, there is life after November 5th. There's a whole year ahead, and we are getting ready to order our first print run. So please don't miss your opportunity to have your daily horoscope planner or our big book with all 12 signs, our awesome bundles. We are getting all those last pre-orders in so we can get them out in time for the holidays. This is our 14th year of writing annual horoscope guides, and people tell us some version of, I don't know how I lived without this thing before, because we have got you through every single change and transit and day of the year ahead. Next year, we've named the year of the divine pendulum because we have 3 major planets, Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune, swinging into new signs, then swinging back into the old ones before they make a permanent resettling into the new sign in 2026. So it's a big, big year. Brand new energy, some that we've never experienced in our lifetimes, particularly Neptune and Aries. Not since the 1800s has it been there. So we are going to get you fully ready to tap into that. So if you head to astrostyle.com/2025-book, and it's in the show notes, you can pre-order your copy. We have paperbacks and PDF versions of the book, and it is chock full of everything that you need. We're doing special 3 of the daily horoscope planners for $99 because we know how much you guys loved gifting those. You can get one for the stargazers of all signs and save almost 50% on the costs there. We also have a bundle if you want to have the big book where you can read about everyone, and then a planner just for you and you alone. So we have our bundles, and you are going to be also getting our early bird bonuses. So you can get all the Black Friday bonuses early when you pre-order. That's our digital calendar, which will instantly populate your Google Calendar or your iCal with all the most important hotspot dates of the year. So you'll get a little notification and you'll have them in your calendar. You'll never miss a Mercury retrograde, a new moon, a full moon, a Venus transit again. And you'll get a ticket to our yearly masterclass, Planet by the Planets, where we're going to set intentions and help you really anchor yourself in the themes of 2025. That's on January 12th. So you'll get that included with your book. We hope you'll go get that and not miss out on our very first print run. So again, wishing you a peaceful, transformational week. Remember, it's not over till it's over. The human tendency to protect ourselves by thinking the worst has happened. It's the brain's way of protecting itself, but that doesn't mean you have to buy into anything that you don't, if it hasn't happened. Just find the courage to believe in the miraculous, to believe in anything being possible. The great potential of everything always exists until it happens in 3D linear time. So we will see you on 11/11 and wishing you a calm and peaceful week. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.